It is almost 2024. Can you believe another year down? 2023 on its way out. We're going to step through the threshold to a new year. It's going to be a lightning year. And looking forward to what these energies are going to bring. But let's go surfing for the last little bit of 2023 and the first little bit of 2024. And with that, we have our energy triangulation. We're going to do this again for the solution. And this week, it highlights Venus. We have a square over to Saturn. We have Venus moving into Sagittarius with a trine over to Neptune and a sextile to Pluto and an in conjunct to Jupiter. There's a lot happening with Venus. And she takes front and center, although there's the moon phase that causes us to feel this patience from the I-Ching. I-Ching 5 is patience. It's this sense of stall. And the moon is part of that because we're headed towards the last quarter moon. That's going to be on the last day of our CIRF report. By the way, unprecedented. I don't know if we've ever seen this before, maybe once, where we're going to have two CIRF reports without a full or new moon, a major moon milestone. Now, that doesn't mean there's not these big energies coming up. I mean, obviously, this week is about the Venus. We're going to talk about all about Venus and relationships, finance. The Dream Bot this week says defeat and crush. There's a little residue from Christmas as well. And so the overlap is what Dr. Stephen Hayes, the originator of ACT therapy, would say, okay, now what? Because when you come to the present moment, which is where patience is played out the best, you get this this sense of what should I be doing now? And I think that is the epitome of what we're going to be feeling this week, even though the energies are high. And even though they're very motivating, I think this is what most of us are going to feel. So let's get going on this, get started. And welcome to all of you YouTube viewers. I wanted to give a quick shout out to our CIRFers down below or south of the equator. PP over in Ecuador, shout out to you. German Pujo down in Australia, welcome. And Jacqueline from New Zealand, shout out. And Lindsay from South Africa. I had no idea we had these viewers from all over the globe. Thank you for writing in and thank you for watching the CIRF reports. And speaking of distant lands, Milos is one of the two of the tiebreaker goes to the best comment goes to Milos and Together We Are Wand. Both of you with 6 ups. Congratulations. You both are the winners and 2 big shout outs. Well deserved. Let's hit the Dream Bot and see what we've got. Zoom in as much as I can. To bring that down. So the top word is cancel. Cancel, crush. And then built is sort of the opposite. We have crush and then built. So it's on the continuum, but it's very defeating. And again, that opposite is there. So the red arrows are all about crushing and breaking and pushing and really dominating. The top word, cancel. Second word, crush. Cancel, crush. And then Christmas theme for the blue arrows. We're looking at just a residue from there. We got family in there. We got food. We've got cake. Who has cake for Christmas? But, it's sweets. So crush, cancel, and Christmas. Let's get into the astrology. As we cross through, we're approaching midway through our eclipse cycle, by the way, as we head into this eclipse cycle. And this week, The patience theme or the waiting theme is partly due to the waning moon. This could be one line, but I broke it out into two, and both of these are additive. So you can imagine if both of these were added together, we would have a line way up here that basically goes up to the right. So further in the week, so after the new year, this energy is going to be even stronger. So it's the patience, the holding back, the conflicted on moving forward, all those energies are getting stronger towards the end of our CIRF week. So once New Year's hits, it's even stronger there. And the second line is Venus square Saturn that we'll talk in great detail. It goes exact on New Year's Day, actually. I think it's New Year's Day. So that climax is there. And then remember all the other aspects to Venus. And there's quite a few. One of them, this is December. So we're on to the right of this vertical line. This little smidgen left in 2023. This is it. And 2 days into our CIRF week, Venus is going to go into Sagittarius. All these are some Venus aspects, the important ones. And then we have Mercury going direct in Sagittarius. Here's our Venus aspects that get stronger. And in January 2024, our first big lunar event is the new moon on January 11th in Capricorn. And then on January 25th, we're going to have the Leo full moon. And that's interesting because the sun is right there at my Aquarian sun position in my natal chart. So I'm looking forward to that. And then there's a lot more in January that we're obviously going to cover. Now, let's get into the day-to-day. There's a lot to cover in these details. They're going to flow. I'm going to present them, and they're going to show up pretty much all week. There's a new really cool one that I can't wait to show you at the end of our CIRF week that has to do with power, and that goes kind of away from the whole patience thing. So it kind of kickstarts I think what's going to end up being a new primary energy starting on the next CIRF report. But for Thursday, the 28th, we have 3 or 4 big alignments. I'll go in priority order. We have the Mars and Mercury square Neptune. This is what we covered last week. And remember, this is the diver. This is the explorer, and basically Mars and Mercury in Sagittarius that want to see new things and explore, but it's squared pressure over to Neptune in Pisces. So, we have to go down into the emotions, down into the mystery of the darkness and the water and the deep sea to find what we're looking for. And there's a pressure to do it. There's a square there. The other square is one of Venus's alignments. So now we're down to Venus, and this isn't all of them. There's one with a sextile over to Pluto that represents an opportunity, but it's more of powers, bringing power into your relationships. And it's fleeting because once Venus goes into Sagittarius, that particular lock and key kind of disassembles because we have Pluto. Pluto's the ruler, one of the rulers of Scorpio. Venus is in Scorpio, so super Scorpio-ness and super powerful and passionate and all that good stuff. But there's also this square. And there's also the trine over to Neptune. So on one hand, we kind of see Venus might as well be down into the Pisces waters with Mars and Mercury in a way. But I think that's with the trine to Neptune. But I think with the square over to Saturn, which only gets stronger and stronger, when Venus goes into Sagittarius, I think it's going to feel more like tumultuous waters. This is a small boat that's on the big ocean. Meanwhile, our Mars and Mercury aspects are down inside the water. I think Venus is feeling terrified on the top. And terrified being a square over Saturn. There's terrified of duty. And this is bringing you a little bit of an inner conflict, by the way. So like examples would be a pursuit of pleasure blocked by worries or concern, maybe over stability, sensual impulses hampered by self-criticism, or maybe like a pleasure seeking dampened by Saturnian duty, like something you have to do. So this just sort of renders someone more of God, I don't know which way to go with this. I know I want to do something, but I really can't. It's like a small boat venturing out into a stormy sea, and all that does change tomorrow when Venus goes into Sagittarius. But before we do that, we have a grand water trine. So that really puts us into both of the water themes. It's a day of feeling the emotions, is being present with your emotional content. And meanwhile, there's a T-square on Jupiter. So you feel kind of a trap in bettering yourself or higher self, or feeling positive, trying to feel positive can be kind of a chore on Thursday, the 28th. All right. That was convoluted, but I think the theme is down into the water to explore versus up in the stormy seas out in the real world, or out in the real emotions that you're feeling. And then boom, on Friday the 29th at 2:23 p.m. Central Standard Time, Venus is going to enter into Sagittarius. And now with that, you're going to feel this image. You're going to feel like relationships want to and desire this sunshine and on the open seas and seeing what I can see and hope. And this feels so good. The warmth of the sun, but it's all hope. It's all an imagination. In reality, because of the square to Saturn getting stronger, we have a boat that needs repairs. So we have to ground the boat. And, all you can do is just sort of see out in the ocean. May or may not be calm, but it's dark. It looks dreary. Just night is setting. So rats. All I can do is imagine what it's like on that open ocean. Feelings of being held back from pursuing romantic interests. What about self-doubt about being good enough, maybe for a loved one? Jealous or envy of those in freer relationships. That's what this expresses as. So that's Venus going into Sagittarius, yes, but also, more importantly, square over to Saturn. We have an anchored boat. Now, on Saturday the 30th, this is getting even stronger now with a 2-degree orb over to Saturn and Venus. It's a relational boat, is still grounded for repairs as we get more mutable. And then we have Happy New Year. This is the countdown. I combined the 31st and the 1st into one. So we're going to look at our snapshot on January 1st at 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. And voila, we get a beautiful grand Earth trine. Now, some would say that this might be our snapshot for all of 2024 as the kind of this energy. Most of us around the world are going to have most of these alignments the same, other than the rising sign, or maybe the moon might be a little bit different at midnight, but still probably going everywhere you are in the world, anywhere, probably going to have the grand Earth trine. Probably going to have the T-square on Venus. So relationships get sort of a little more possibly contentious or pressure to have fun in this relationship, or all those things that we talked about. But look at this backdrop. We have 6 mutable signs. So we have planets, 6 planets in mutable signs, and we have 5 planets in earth signs. So it's very mutable earth, and that's Virgo. So the backdrop, and some would say the snapshot to 2024, is a very Virgo-esque kind of thing. So grounded, but also the ability to adapt. So very adaptable, earthy. I think we're going to need, as a foreshadowing to 2024, I think a lot of unpredictable things. If anything, probably one of the hardest years to predict, in my opinion. I'm not one, other than Project August and Project Anya that we did in National Dream Center, I'm not one to just willy-nilly create predictions. We did that specifically with predictive dreaming techniques and the DreamBot, but just kind of an observation from other predictors. I think everyone's going to get it wrong. I think this is going to take some turns and changes possibly that the world's ever seen. I think the easiest prediction is that nothing big is going to happen in 2024. I think that's the easiest prediction to take out of the equation. I think it's going to be a big year. And so being in the present moment, being grounded, and being adaptable, I think is the name of the game. In my opinion, I think this is telling us throughout 2024 is to maximize your time grounded, earthing, and being in the present moment as much as you possibly can. And taking things in a very matter-of-fact way, and doing your thing, holding on to your values and what you value. There's Jupiter in Taurus, the zodiac sign of value. Grand Earth trine, or if you're not in the present moment adapting, then you hold the probability of being in power struggles. There's a couple of them here. Jupiter square Pluto and T square on Venus. Not even to mention the Mars and Mercury squaring over to Neptune. So you have this grand Earth trine. Keep it. Stay in it. Stay in the now. Stay grounded and stay adaptable. And then on January 1st, New Year's Day, Mercury in Sagittarius will go station, meaning it'll freeze in relation to Earth and hold a very strong Mercury in Sag kind of a feel at 9:08 p.m. So all night long, again, this is Central Time, from 9:08 p.m. to 6:43 a.m., you'll have Mercury in Sag stuck at that. I can't remember the actual degrees, but it'll be a late stage Sagittarius and go direct at 6:43 a.m. And now on Tuesday the 2nd, now we have invigorated that square yet again. And now it's moving forward so we can think rationally, think curiously, find the truth seeking, higher living with Mars. And Mars is I'm not afraid of anything. And it's my motivation. And it's pressured to Neptune. So it might be a pressure to escape. A lot of people use the escape hatch of Neptune in the form of drug use or alcohol. And then there's a million other kind of escapisms. Or it can be the pressure to imagine better life. It's very explorative in Sagittarius. So it's that deep sea explorer archetype that's still there. And then on Wednesday, the 3rd, we have a cool little semi-sextile hidden in here. Pluto, semi-sextile Mars. And that represents growth of power, because Mars and Pluto together are certain kinds and certain forms of power. Mars, outer power, behaviors, motivation. Pluto, inner power and transformation, like subconscious, unconscious kind of a power. In this picture, this is such a big one that I want everyone to be aware of. This, by the way, goes exact on Wednesday the 3rd, January 3rd, and 3:08:33 p.m. 3:08 p.m. Central Standard Time. Mars and Pluto in a semi-sextile. It's the spark in the tinder, the internal drive and assertion to spark landing and rich fueling tinder. Mars' basic energy and motivating fire awakens subtle yet potent transformative urges from Pluto's realm. Change emerges from within. And so, some of us will feel more of this power. I think your Scorpio type folks are going to feel more of this. Maybe the fire signs. This is just surprising yourself with the powers that come out. But I think a lot of us, it's going to be a lot more subtle. And so just a basic, hitting a little magnesium rod and seeing a tiny little spark, maybe feeling the spark within. It might be a motivation intensified by deep inner pressures, a drive energized yet subtly shaped by the subconscious. And relationships express underlying power dynamics. So we're back to relationships empowered instead of relationships sitting in a boat grounded. And where are we at on the Venus-Saturn? Right here on the 3rd, we have Saturn at 3 degrees, 3.5 degrees, and Venus at 6 degrees. So we're at a 3-degree orb on the backside. So it's starting to wane a little bit. Thank goodness. This is going to be a transition point. This power of relational power. Kaboom. All right, let's get into the I-Ching. It's hexagram 5, patience. So waiting for things to, this is how it feels. All week, and it gets stronger as you saw at the beginning. It gets stronger towards the end of the CIRF week, waiting for things to unfold. I didn't mention, one thing I forgot to mention is the last quarter moon is at 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday the 3rd, 9:30 p.m. Central Time. And so this is also that energy. That last call on the moon is exactly this, waiting for things to unfold, anticipation. You can feel restlessness, experiencing worry and fear due to uncertainty. Imagine that boat that's grounded on the side and you're forced to just imagine what it might be like outside and on a sunny day, but it's not. Frustration, feeling stuck or powerless due to prolonged waiting. Now we had change line 1 and 4. So with change line 1, there's a call for adaptive patience and proactive action. That's the Virgo-esque-ness that we talked about. Adjust strategies based on the evolving circumstances. And luckily we have Mercury station direct to help us out with that. Adjust strategies based on evolving circumstances. And then line 4 amplifies anticipation and restlessness driven by dynamic shifts. It may be heightened sense of anxiety as uncertainties intensify. With that, let's go look at our summary slide. And here we are. We're kind of with our Venus aspect, a relational aspect, financial outlook, kind of looking out at unreasonably high tides and cloudy skies, storm clouds, and just kind of imagining what life would be like with more sunshine or stability. The crossing into 2024 is desired to be smooth sailing, but challenging aspects feel like stormy waters for some and deep sea diving for others. Saturn will put a big damper on Venus's otherwise hopeful, optimistic, and explorative transit into Sagittarius. Instead, we're left merely imagining the better life. and what it would be like without the storm clouds above. We're left with forced patience as the boat is anchored on land, waiting for repairs to be finished. In the best case, there's a high risk for power struggles, but worst case, relational scars may injure love and harmony. So it's very important that you prep this week before we get started. If you're watching the CIRF report early, well, even if you aren't, go straight to your loved ones, the ones that matter the most, and tell them how much they matter to you. And it just cages your mind to go, I'm not going to do an unconscious behavior, especially one that scars or injures the people that I love, either emotionally, mentally, physically. It doesn't mean stay away from people this week. It means that be on the guard for unconscious scarring or rubbing of relationships to where they injure the love or harmony that's already present. So be aware. All right, let's get back to our regularly scheduled program. Well, we're going to start into the solution, and we start by putting those change lines in, and we get hexagram 28, excessive pressure. Now, remember, this feels more like an influence. We read this as a solution. So the solution would be fostering harmony. If people are behaving as in hexagram 28, they will be fostering harmony. There you go. So we need to consciously counter the energies of conflicted and power struggles and the like. We should behave with embracing responsibility, balancing power with benevolence, understand the importance of using power and influence for the greater good. And that advice is also bigger as we go along because of that semi-sextile between Pluto and Mars. It's a very powerful alignment and growing power, ironically. Exercise discernment and cultivate inner strength. Action must be taken now to ensure opportunities for success later on. Dive into a crisis with complete abandon, dedicating every ounce of your energy and every fiber of your being to the cause at hand. Now is that time. Dare to win. Now, this is a word of caution as we get closer and closer to this last call. This is not your typical waning gibbous lunar moon energy or suggestions, but it's kind of, as we're heading to the last call, it's kind of like that jump shot at the buzzer to score the last 2 points if you're in a really close nail-biting basketball game. So that's the energy here, but that's the suggestion, at least from the I-Ching, is don't be afraid to do that little jumper at the end. We're getting close to the last call. Our major transit here, in my opinion, was Venus. It's all things Venus, and I think the biggest aspect on Venus was going into Sagittarius. So that's at hexagram 14, and it's Sidereal Libra. So here's the Rave mandala. Rave, hexagram 14, humility, line 6, wealth and power at its most exalted. The enlightened recognition that material success is God's will. Spirituality as the key to acceptance and the source of power. So even that's number 2 for power. Remember the I-Ching talked about power? And you know, if you have a crisis, so go deep into it and struggle with it and win, and don't succumb. You know, like really put your power in there. The Rave says the same thing. So now we go to our solution slide, but before we do, check out Intervention Therapy, and you're going to see a radio interview I did with Dr. Stephen Hayes a couple of years ago, talking about the present moment. I highly encourage you to go to intervention.com. And with that, here's our solution. We have excessive pressure according to the I-Ching, and we're going to look at the behaviors there. We have success is God's will there. So it's sort of a wealth versus power conundrum. We have Sidereal Libra that wants balance and justice. And we have a waning gibbous moon into the last quarter. So how do we put all this together? Although an energetic and holiday hangover might motivate us to slow down and relax, that was Christmas. Christmas were kind of sandwiched between Christmas and New Year's. We do this every year, so a lot of us are motivated to slow down. That's a matching to the waning gibbous that we have going on, but the solution triangulation shows huge opportunities. So it's not just lazily, laying around. Although you can, if you would like to, you're probably just going to miss some of these opportunities, including raw and divine power and wealth for those who dare to win. More specifically, meet any challenges, hurdle task-based obstacles, lead the astray, cultivate inner strength, pursue any remaining lunar goals, and more. The other key interpretation to this overlap is with relationships. With all the challenges on Venus this week, mindfully stay in check and accentuate fostering harmony. Tip the scales towards benevolence, demonstrate humility, reduce conflicts to mediating. Be a good mediator this week. Be a good harmonizer. Extra credit goes to those who articulate other people's viewpoints, wants and needs, emotional content with pure acceptance and compassion. Let me break that down a little bit more. A good negotiator, a really good negotiator at the next higher level, is one who can accurately articulate what the other people or the other person wants, or is thinking about, or is feeling, or is scared about. And they do so with non-judgment. They do so with just matter-of-factness. You want that candy. If you're talking to a kid who wants candy, you want that candy. Why do we get so afraid of other people's wants? Why do we get so afraid of children's wants? We should treat those wants as an emotion and be okay with them and recognize them and validate them. Doesn't mean you have to be good with behaviors. You can set down expectations and behaviors, but it's a very good idea and it harmonizes very well with the simple act of always being able to articulate the other person's viewpoints and do so with acceptance, genuine acceptance and compassion. It's your bridge to easy harmonizing. So be kind this week, but be powerful. Be kind, but be powerful. Hopefully that makes sense. And then our runes. All events help me grow stronger this week. I have the Gebu, and this is even more important. This X here, Gebu, is meant for our Libra eclipse cycle, but for this week with relationships, it's perfect. I really need this Gebu to help out with, harmonizing and strengthening relationships instead of causing more damage. And then Urus, remember, there's some opportunities here. There's a growth of power, and sometimes power doesn't work too well with relationships, but we don't want to succumb to any power either. So there's a delicate dance, and I'm going to meet any situation with Urus. I'm going to be powerful. I'm going to have a strong personal will, and I'm going to meet the challenges with raw inner strength, but with harmonizing with relationships and not causing any scarring of any kind, hopefully. Very challenging suggestion this week, but I think it's going to be a challenging week, especially as we just sit around and wait for our relational boat to get fixed so we can take it out on the Sagittarian waters and get moving around and explore. That's not this week. This week is dive into any crisis that you see, harmonize as best you can with relationships, and no escapism. That's sort of a life rule. Don't escape. All right. I think that's it, everybody. 35 minutes of surfing. And Happy New Year to each and every one of you. I will see you in 2024. See you next week.